seventh day, the big boss ordained it. Rest after grind, no cross can replace it. Messiah showed the blueprint, the steps ain't outdated. Man tweaking rules while the truth stand unshaken. Sabbath ain't a fad, it's a covenant sacred. They flipped the script with the command, he engraved it. Echoes from Sinai can't be manipulated. The seventh still holds, never traded or negated. Sunday hype was man-made innovation, but the seventh is divine, set apart in creation. Follow the lamb, not the denomination. Imitate the king, no need for translation. Calendars flip, but his word stays eternal. Earth spins round, still the timing is internal. From dusk to dusk, it's spiritual and verbal. Sabbath rest hits like lyrics that are fertile. Sabbath ain't a fad, it's a covenant sacred. They flipped the script, but the command, he engraved it. Echoes from Sinai can't be manipulated. The seventh still holds, never traded or negated. Traditions got him tripping, blindfolds heavy, but the path Messiah walked is the truth. Hold steady, not my law but his, engraved on forever's levy. Sabbath on the seventh, truth flows like a levee. It's a covenant sacred. They flipped the script with the command, he engraved it. Echoes from Sinai can't be manipulated. The seventh still holds, never traded or negated. Sabbath ain't a fad, it's a covenant sacred. They flipped the script with the command, he engraved it. Echoes from Sinai can't be manipulated. The seventh still holds, never traded or negated.
The sun sets low, another week begins. But on the seventh, the sacred rest sets in. A day of joy, it's been since ancient call. The path Messiah walked, he showed it to all. Keep the seventh holy, let your heart align, not for tradition, but a love divine. The hands that shape the stars, bless this day too. Walk the way the Savior walked, it's calling to you. Sunday's whispers don't outshine his voice. He set the Sabbath where we gather and rejoice. Creation paused to let his wonders bloom. The seventh glows, not lost in man's costume. Keep the seventh holy, let your heart align, not for tradition, but a love divine. The hands that shape the stars, bless this day too. Walk the way the Savior walked, it's calling to you. By his example, each step was clear. Follow his rhythm, you'll find him near. It's more than a rule, it's the flame that remains, a dance of eternity, a break in the chains. Keep the seven holy, let your heart align, not for tradition, but a love divine. The hands that shape the stars, bless this day too. Walk the way the Savior walked, it's calling to you. goes down and the stars align, a sacred moment outside of time. We hear the call to remember the way, a holy rest on the seventh day. 6 days to work, but this day is blessed, a pause for the weary to find their rest. Messiah walked it, so I'll walk it too, keeping it holy like He taught us to. Keep it holy, set apart, written in stone, it's in my heart. Not another day, it's the plan laid down. The seventh day is where peace is found. Keep it holy, keep it holy, keep it holy, keep it sweet. Tradition's pull tries to lead me astray, but the path is clear, it's the narrow way. Man-made changes won't rewrite the truth. I'll keep the Sabbath just like the proof. It's not a burden, it's love divine, a gift from heaven, a sacred sign. In the stillness I find His grace, a glimpse of glory in His embrace. Keep it holy, set apart.
Yeah. Mama's recipes passed from the top plate. Told me don't flip it when the truth ain't straight. Messiah walked it, He left a foot trace. 6 grind, 7th rest, that's a holy embrace. 7th day rhythm, frame it in your heart. World flip the script, tore its day apart. Sunday creeping, but that ain't the spark. Messiah showed the way, His steps left a mark. Hop the scriptures, flipping pages like a flip phone. Prophet's voice echoes, makes it that stone. Sun up, sun down, keep it in the zone. The ancient path paved, not man-made on its own. Tradition breaking walls, shaking system built on sand. Sabbath holding steady, that's the Father's brand. Don't bend, fold, this a pure command. Every command's legit, this the holy strand. Rome switched the day, now watch the spin zone. Took His ways, branded anyone unknown. Original still, no remix thrown. Reflect in the light, Sabbath stone. 7-day rhythm, frame it in your heart. World flip the script, tore its day apart. Sunday creeping, but that ain't the spark. Messiah showed the way, His steps left a mark.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Israel. Man, I hope everybody is having a blessed day. Man, today's Shabbat message, I'm back with another powerful teaching, making sure people understand and are not deceived. The title of the message is Deceived by Red Letter Programming. Man, there are so many different snares, so many different traps set to box you in so you don't find the fullness of the word of the Most High Yah. And the word says those that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. And I'm going to break down this belief or mindset of, if it's not red letter, then we don't have to do it, then it doesn't apply, because, man, that will cost you the kingdom. It's a very dangerous man-made teaching. Title of the message is Deceived by Red Letter Programming. Man, I hope, everybody is able, that's tuning in to enter into that Sabbath rest, to be obedient to the word. If it's your first time, tuning in to Closer to Yah Ministries, I appreciate, your support, you tuning in for the moment. Welcome to all in Shabbat Shalom, Israel. For people that constantly tune in, on a weekly basis, I want to thank you also, because, it doesn't matter the number, it doesn't matter how many views, making sure that this message is edifying somebody and it is spirit filled with the Ruach of the Most High Yah. I hope it bless somebody that may not understand what I'm teaching today, and it helps them gain understanding to strengthen their walk, to help strengthen their obedience to the word of the Most High Yah, whereas they may have fell victim to red letter teachings and that man-made concept and fallen short. How to support the ministry. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Turn your notifications on and set to all notifications. Share this video. I appreciate it. Agenda. In today's Shabbat message, I'll be discussing and doing a deep dive into the history of the concept and teachings of red letter doctrine only. This is another Christian teaching that keeps believers lost because they never understand the teachings of Yeshua and whose will he was coming to fulfill. There are people out there that believe that if it's not red letter doctrine, meaning the words of Yeshua, then they don't have to obey it. This is a sure way to miss out on the kingdom and not to work out your salvation. I want believers to understand that Yeshua was not against the teaching of Moses, but demonstrated righteousness by living according to the will of the Most High Yah and not violating Torah. So in a basic opening statement, the concept of the doctrine in the Bible being red is not the problem. The ink can be red, blue, green. It doesn't matter. Whatever's visible, whatever people can see, that's not the problem. The problem lies, in where people say, well, this is the only part of the book that I'm going to read, and I'm going to reject everything else. When it comes to the commandments of the Most High that we're supposed to be doing, people will say, well, the Messiah never said that because it's not red letter. That's where the problem lies. Exodus chapter 20. Why are we here today? Exodus chapter 20, verses 8 through 11. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy Yahweh. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days Yahweh made the heaven and the earth and the sea and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. Wherefore Yahweh blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Exodus 31:13. Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily my Sabbaths you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am Yahweh Elohim that do sanctify you. Luke 4, verse 14 through 16. And Yahshua returned in the power of the Spirit into Galilee, there went out a fame of him all the region round about, and he taught in their synagogues, being glorified of all. He came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day to stood up for to read. And the reason I give people Luke chapter 4, verse 14 through 16 every Shabbat is just to show that, Messiah was a Sabbath keeper. He was obedient to the seventh day Sabbath, not no other day, not Lord's Day, Resurrection's Day, not Wednesday night. No, he was a Sabbath keeper. He worshiped every day in spirit and truth, but he also kept the set apart day that the Most High Yah instructed. And this is very important for believers to know in their pursuit of following Messiah. We have to know what he actually did in his words as well as his actions. Okay? Red letter history. The concept of using red ink to highlight Yeshua's words in the Bible was introduced by Louis Klopst, the editor of Christian Herald magazine, in 1899. He wanted to create a Bible edition that would emphasize Yeshua's teachings by printing his words in red. The first red letter New Testament was published in 1899, followed by the first full red letter Bible in 1901. Klopps conceived the idea of printing some of the biblical texts with red ink. When reading Yeshua's word, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood, which is poured out for you," Luke chapter 20, verse 20, he thought of printing all of Yeshua's words in red, the color of his blood. So this is, if I'm gonna teach on something, I'm gonna give you the history of it. So I'm not just telling you, parts of it and not the fullness of it. I want believers to understand, okay, who was responsible for saying we're gonna take this from black ink to red ink, and this is the history behind it. Klopps wrote in an explanatory note in his red letter Bible, "Modern Christianity is striving zealously to draw near to the great founder of faith, setting aside mere human doctrines and theories regarding him. It presses close to the divine presence to gather from his own lips the definition of his mission to the world and his own revelation of the Father. The Red Letter Bible has been prepared and issued in the full conviction that it will meet the needs of the student, the worker, and searchers after the truth everywhere." So it's very important to understand that this is the history behind red letter doctrine, but men along the way after this came along and said, well, we're going to use this red letter, print to go against the rest of the Bible and to make the words of Yeshua seem like they are in direct opposition with the will of the Most High. That's where the problem lies. False Christian teachings. The phrase, "if JC didn't say it, we don't believe it," reflects a perspective common in some Christian denominations and among certain individuals. It suggests that only the words directly attributed to JC in the gospel are considered authoritative and binding for belief and practice. That's the problem. They will discredit, everything up until Matthew, Mark, Luke, and Acts. They're going to discredit everything. It suggests that only the words directly attributed to JC in the Gospels are considered authoritative and binding for belief and practice. This viewpoint often arises when discussing doctrines or practices that are not explicitly mentioned in JC's teaching, leading to questions about their validity within the Christian faith. So people outside of Christianity don't have a problem understanding this is a Christian teaching. The perspective is often rooted in the belief that JC's teachings are the foundation of Christian faith and that anything not directly supported by his words is not essential or even accurate. It can lead to a focus on interpreting the Gospels and applying JC's word to modern day situations while potentially downplaying or rejecting other parts of the word. I told you, I've done teachings on how what these heathens did was create a whole religion around the Messiah while trying to reject the Torah, trying to reject the work of the prophets, And he tells you he did not come to destroy the law or the prophets. So there's another conflict, that often Christians are in error of. Okay, so to be clear, we got to understand what was the will of Yahshua, because that concept of, well, if JC or Yahshua didn't say it, then it's not valid or it doesn't apply to us. And that's a dangerous construct, but it doesn't line up with what's in the book. So we go to John chapter 6, verse 38 through 40. For I have come down from heaven not to do my own will, but to do the will of him who sent me. That's a very simplistic statement of Hamashiach saying, I didn't come down here to do my own thing, to do something separate from the will of the Father. I come to do the will. I come to do the Father's business. This is the will of him who sent me, that all of he has given me I lose nothing, but I give new life and raise it up on the last day. For this is my Father's will and purpose, that everyone who sees the Son and believes in him as Savior will have eternal life. And I will raise him up from the dead on the last day. Matthew chapter 7, verse 21. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only he who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. So I'm hitting you with an intro statement of whose will he came to do, versus when he comes to judge, everybody ain't gonna make it unless they've done the will of the Father. That's what's gonna catch a lot of people up right there. They're trying to limit when it gets to the commandments and things like that. People say, well, I've heard Geno Jennings talk about, JC didn't say we supposed to, he didn't explicitly say we supposed to keep the Sabbath, so we don't have to do it if we follow. And that's the trickery. That's the sleight of hand. See, what's going to get you jacked up and kept out of the kingdom is you didn't do the will of the Father. You tried to make Messiah's will, Hamashiach's will, seem like it was something different, and it wasn't. So that's the baseline. Okay? Understanding Yahshua wasn't against Moses. He had nothing in opposition towards Moses, as oftentimes people will try to put his words against Moses when he used the words of Moses to prove his point righteously. John chapter 5, verse 46 through 47. For if you believed in me and relied on the scriptures written by Moses, you would believe me, for he wrote about me personally. But if you do not believe in his writings, how will you believe my words? See, when you're reading the Old Testament, you're reading about the Son of Man. It's not going to refer to him by name, but it's going to say the Son of Man. And this is Moses writing about the Messiah. Okay? Yah's will, Exodus. This is very important. I'm going to take you from the front of the book all the way to the back of the book, because we have to understand, if Hamashiach came to do Yah's will, what is Yah's will? What is his will? We've already established Messiah didn't come to do his own thing. He didn't come to do something different. So now that we know he said, I come to do the will of him who sent me, now we must explore what is the Most High Yahweh's will. Exodus chapter 20, verse 3 through 6. You shall have no other Elohim before me. That's something that Hamashiach followed. You shall not make it for yourself an idol or any likeness, form, manifestation of what is in the heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the water underneath, as an object to worship. We're talking about idolatry. You shall not worship them nor serve them. For I, the Lord your Elohim, am a jealous El, demanding what is rightfully and uniquely mine, avenging the iniquity, the sin, the guilt of the fathers of the children, that is, calling the children to account for the sins of their fathers, to testify to the sins of their fathers, to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing graciousness and steadfast loving kindness to thousands of generations of those who love me, okay, of those who love me and keep my commandments. That's the will of the Father. I'm going to show you multiple places where this is a continuous theme. So that argument of Messiah only mentioned so many commandments and rejecting the rest of them, hogwash. Yah's will, Deuteronomy 5, 8 through 10. You shall not make for yourself as an idol and as an object of worship or any likeness or form, manifestation of what is in heaven above or on the earth beneath or in the water underneath. You shall not worship them or serve them, for I, Yahweh Elohake, am a jealous and passionate El, demanding what is rightfully and uniquely mine, visiting, avenging the iniquity, sin, guilt of the fathers and children, that is, calling the children to account for the sins of their fathers to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing graciousness and loving kindness to thousands of generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. These commandments, these are instructions from Abba Yah, who keep my commandments. This reads the exact same as the passage we just read, but it's going to read this way all the way pretty much through. Everything is going to have that almost that preamble of those who love me, keeping my commandments, my statutes, my instructions. Deuteronomy 6, verse 1 through 3. Now this is the command, the statutes and the judgments, precepts, which Yahweh has commanded me to teach you, so that you might do. Okay, so when you read, be a doer of the word, here we go right here. Follow, obey them in the land which you are crossing over the Jordan to possess, so that you and your sons and grandsons may fear and worship Yahweh with all filled reverence and profound respect, to keep and actively do, not lip service do, actively do in your actions, all his statutes and his commandments, which I am commanding you all the days of your life. It don't say until you find Christian teachings on red letter doctrine only. It says all the days of your life. What is all the days of your life? That's until your doggone flesh returns to the doggone soil, so that your days may be prolonged. Therefore listen, O Israel, and be careful to do them, that it may go well with you, and that you may increase greatly in numbers, as the Lord Yahweh of your fathers has promised you, in the land flowing with milk and honey. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 24. So the Lord commanded us to do all of these statutes, to fear and worship Yahweh with all filled reverence and profound respect, for our good always, for our good. So he's not causing you unnecessary burden by you keeping his commandments. No, he's saying with all filled reverence and profound respect, for our good, for our benefit always, and so that he might preserve us alive as it is today. Listen to this. It will be considered righteousness for us, that is righteousness, right standing with Yahweh, if we are careful to observe all his commandments before Yahweh, just as he has commanded us. This is your righteousness. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 9 through 11. Therefore know without any doubt and understand that Yahweh Elohake, he is Elohim, the faithful El, who is keeping his covenant and his steadfast loving kindness to thousands generations with those who love him and keep his commandment, but repays those who hate him to their faces by destroying them. He will not hesitate with him who hates him. He will repay him to his face. Therefore you shall keep, which means follow, obey the commandment and the statutes and judgments and precepts which I am commanding you today. Man, this is like at the end of everything he's telling you to do. Man, this is it right here. And we're going to flow this all the way into the renewed covenant or the New Testament. Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 12 through 13. And now, Israel, what does the Lord your Yahweh require from you? Whoo! You see how many different ways he's putting this? And now, O Israel, I done told you what I wanted to do. Let's do a check on learning. Now, a check on learning means asking people to make sure they understand. What does the Lord your Yahweh require from you? But to fear and worship the Lord Yahweh with all filled reverence and profound respect, to walk, that is, to live each and every day in all his ways. Not the ways that teachers tell you you're supposed to walk. Not the ways that are deceitful. It says in all his ways, and to love him and to serve the Lord your Yahweh with all your heart and with all your soul, that means your choices, your thoughts, your whole being. Submit everything to him. And to keep the commandments of the Lord and his statutes, which I am commanding you today for your good, for your benefit. So when people tell you, well, we don't have to do that because, see, we follow we're following Messiah in the red letter doctrine. I want you to understand how much they have deceitfully packaged up in that statement. You know, the guy that created the red letter doctrine didn't create it so people could do what they're doing with it today, be in opposition to the will of the Most High Yah. But that's where we are. People are actually teaching that mess. But this is for your benefit. Deuteronomy 11:1. Therefore you shall love the Lord your Yahweh and always keep his charge, his statutes, his precepts, and his commandments. It is your obligation to him. You're obligated to keep the commandments. Okay, you got to understand, man, when it comes to Leviticus 23, Messiah's actions and places in the Bible show you that he was obedient to keeping the feast days, even though he didn't directly come out and reiterate the fact that, the fullness of the feast days. We hear Messiah keeping the Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread, as well as other feast days described in the Bible that aren't red letter. When I read to you in Luke, it's telling you about, this is the customs of Hamashiach. This is what his actions look like. And that's the part that red letter people try to discredit because it wasn't his words specifically. Deuteronomy 11:13-14. It shall come about if you listen obediently and pay attention to my commandments, which I command you today, to love the Lord your Yahweh and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul, your choices, your thoughts, your whole being, that he will give the rain for your land and its season, the early fall rain and the late spring rain, so that you may gather your grain and your new wine and your olive oil. So I'll tell you, this right here, man, it seems like if you're gardening outside of the will of the Most High Yah and you're doing it for a worldly reason, you won't never experience this type of rain. But when you are living an agricultural lifestyle according to righteousness and you are planning things in alignment with his timeline, you will experience the blessings of these rains. But you got plenty of people, I want you to understand, you have plenty of people out there gardening and just throwing some seeds in dirt, but the Most High Yah gives you an instruction. He's got certain seasons when he instructs things to happen and when different festivals are taking place. So if you are out of alignment with him, man, don't expect the fullness of your harvest. See, the world try to genetically modify stuff so you can grow all kind of stuff year round. That's not in alignment with the will of the Most High Yah. Man, he designed it to where seed bearing things were to be planted in certain regions, certain locations, and at certain times. You've got winter crops, you've got spring crops, you've got summer crops. Some of the feasts are feast of first fruits. Man, that's a certain time of year when you have to have done the backwards, been obedient to when you were supposed to be planning that so you can have something for the feast of first fruits. But if you're not doing it for righteousness' sake, you're not going to experience the fullness of what it's talking about. The early fall rain, the late spring rain. I tell you, man, in obedience to the commandments, I see the very same thing. Whereas if I was doing this outside of the will of Yah, all of this rain wouldn't be coming. You got to understand, man, until you live an agricultural lifestyle, you don't appreciate the rain, for what it's worth. I got a garden out there, man, and I'm like, man, every time it rains, praise the Most High Yah. That's another day that he's supplying what those plants need. And I tell you, that rainwater is a whole lot better than what's coming pumped from the city. But I'm speaking to a different aspect of the walk that if you're not walking in the fullness of Yah's will and what he counts as righteousness, hate not husbandry or laborious work, husbandry meaning vine dressing, an agricultural term, and you red letter only, you ain't gonna never get to that. Deuteronomy 11, verse 22 through 23. For if you are careful to keep all the commandments which I am commanding you to do, to love the Lord your Yahweh, to walk, that is, to live each and every day in all his ways, and hold tightly to him, then the Lord will drive out all these nations from before you, and you shall dispossess nations greater and mightier than you. This is being set apart right here. Deuteronomy 19, verse 8 to 9. If the Lord your Yahweh enlarges your borders, and he has sworn to your fathers to do, and give you all the land which he promised you to give you to your fathers, if you keep and carefully observe all these commandments, which I am commanding you today, to love the Lord your Yahweh, and to walk in, that is, to live each and every day, always in his ways, then you shall add 3 more cities of refuge for yourself besides these 3. Man, so the Most High Yah, on this point, he's telling you what he's gonna do on your behalf, what he's gonna do on their behalf for their obedience to his instructions, where they are in the journey, and at certain parts of the journey, he's giving them different instructions. But he's using Moses to do so. Deuteronomy 30:16. In that I command you today to love the Lord your Yahweh. See, when it comes to biblical love, we don't get to define making up in our own carnal flesh in our own fleshly wisdom of what love is, because he tells you how he wants you to love him, to love the Lord your Yahweh, to walk, that is, to live each and every day in his ways, and to keep his commandments, his statutes, and his judgments, precepts, so that you will live and multiply, and that the Lord your Yahweh will bless you in the land which you are entering to possess. Man, when you are coming out from among them and being ye separate, man, when you are moving out of these population centers, man, the obedience of the commandments is very important. This is why some people run back to the city after trying to set themselves apart, because they're not obedient to the will of the Most High Yah. They're still stuck in the ways of religion, but are not walking in the fullness of the will of the Most High, of his word. You want to be blessed when you're entering into new land, new territory, new parts of your life, new levels of your life. You want to be blessed. The only way to do that is to be obedient to the commandments. Faithfulness. Yah's will, Joshua. Only be careful and diligently observe the commandment and the law which Moses, the servant of Yahweh, has commanded you, to love the Lord your Yahweh, and to walk in all his ways, and to keep his commandments, and hold fast to him, and serve him with all your heart and with all your soul, your very life. He don't leave no room. There's no absolute room for you to walk in truth, worship in spirit, and be doing your own thing. He's going to tell you every step you need to take. Every little step you take, he's going to tell you every little step you need to take. It's that simple. But oftentimes, rather than being in lockstep with the will of the Most High Yah, mankind has habitually went off the path and tried to do a 2-step to the right, a 2-step to the left, and come up with something completely different than what the will of the Most High Yah is, which Messiah came to do. He don't leave no room for you to give an ounce of your soul over to some of these other deities. And if you do, he's going to count you as an idolatrous. You're going to be counted as a harlot like Israel was. Yah's will, Daniel. I prayed to the Lord my Yahweh and confessed and said, O Lord, the greatness and awesome Yahweh, who keeps his covenant and extends loving kindness to those who love him and keep his commandments. I tell you, man, love in the Bible is tied to obedience. It ain't this just lip service worship. Oh, we love you, Lord, and you don't obey nothing. No. It's tied to obedience. And that's all the way down through his biblical chain of command, his biblical order, biblical structure, would Messiah have been able to say with his lips that he loved the Most High, that he loved the Father, if he wouldn't have been obedient to his will? It's the same thing for mankind. Man can't say that, we love Messiah without following the will of Messiah, which is the will of the Father. It's the same thing. Woman can't say she loves her husband without being obedient to his will. It's all about being in alignment. Yah's will, Nehemiah. And I said, please, O Yahweh of heaven, the great and awesome Yahweh who keeps the covenant and loving kindness for those who love him and keep his commandments, please let your ear be attentive and your eyes open. Hear the prayers of your servant, which I am praying before you, day and night, on behalf of your servants, the sons, descendants of Israel, Jacob, confessing the sins of the sons of Israel, which have committed against you. I and my father's house have sinned. So, man, you hear a request right here for prayers to be heard, but it's making sure that you understand the greatness and awesome Yahweh who keeps the covenant, loving kindness for those who love him and keep his commandments. Please let your ear be attentive. Please hear us. And eyes open. Hear the prayer of the servant. Man, there's no turn or no place in the book where you can escape keeping the commandments. No matter how religious philosophers, theologians, so-called scholars, Pharisees try to twist and warp it. Yah's will, Matthew chapter 5, verse 17 through 19. Do not think that I come to do away with or undo the law of Moses. That would have been unrighteous. Or the writings of the prophets. What did I just take you through? I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill, to demonstrate, to carry out, to do, to keep. For I assure you, and most solemnly say to you, until heaven and earth pass away, not the smallest letter or stroke of the pen will pass from the law until all things which it foreshadows are accomplished. So whoever breaks one of the least important of these commandments, and that's where Hamashiach is letting you know the violation. So whoever breaks one of the least important, they all important, but he's saying least important of these commandments, and teaches others to do the same, will be called least important in the kingdom of heaven. Didn't say you was going to make it in. This is basically a conversation that they will be having in the kingdom of heaven about those that teach people to break the commandments. Didn't say you was going to make it in. See, people assume that you've made it in and you're a part of the conversation if you have taught people to break the commandments. That's why I say, man, if you don't understand a commandment that we're supposed to be doing, man, you better seek guidance for the Most High Yah before you fix your mouth to tell people we ain't supposed to be doing that. I want you to understand, man, there's man-made commandments and there's the commandments of the Most High Yah that he delivered to men via this word. You got people out there giving commandments to keep Christmas, Halloween, all kind of stuff that ain't in the book. Meanwhile, they sit up red letter only, rejecting the will of the Most High Yah and the commandments that he gave. But whoever practices and teaches them, he will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. So if you want to be considered great, when they're referencing this conversation, you got to teach people to keep the fullness of the commandments, not to pick and choose. Well, right here, he only addressed 4 of them. So that's what we supposed to do. You're going to be called least because you have violated so many of the other ones. Matthew chapter 19, verse 17. Yahshua answered, why are you asking me about what is essentially good? There is only one who is essentially good. But if you wish to enter eternal life, here we go, keep the commandments. Keep the commandments. Whose commandments? Commandments of the Most High Yah. He's giving you the recipe right here. He's giving you the cheat code. See, you got people, the Pharisees that wanted to be counted as good, but they were in violation. of the commandments. The Messiah said, man, they was keeping their own tradition. But if you wish to enter into eternal life, keep the commandments. Didn't say red letter only. Didn't say only the ones that I speak of. Matthew 22:37 through 40. And Yahshua replied to him, you shall love the Lord Yahweh with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. Okay, think about that. We getting back. He's doing nothing but mentioning stuff that's already talked about in Exodus. This is the first and greatest commandment. The second is like, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. That is, unselfishly seek the best or higher good for others. Okay, so when you think about do not covet your neighbor's house, your neighbor's wife, your neighbor's ox, your neighbor's ass, what is that coming from? What is that's love? That's loving your neighbor. You shall not murder. That's loving your neighbor. This is simple. People don't understand the fullness of what he's talking about. People try to make, just because Messiah is saying it right here, because they're not connected to the other part of the book, they'll say, oh, it's something different. Yah's will in John 14:15. If you really love me, you will keep and obey my commandments. John 14:21. The person who has my commandments and keeps them is the one who really loves me. And whoever really loves me will be loved by my Father. Okay? So he's not telling you, well, I'm going to give you something different to do, and it's not going to be in alignment with the Father. I'm going to give you the exact same thing the Father told you to do in my word and demonstration, and I will love him and reveal myself to him. I will make myself real to him. Yah's will, 1 John. 1 John chapter 2, verse 3 through 4. And this is how we know daily by experience that we have come to know him, to understand him, and to be more deeply acquainted with him, if we habitually keep, which is focus on his precepts and obey his commandments, his teachings. Whoever says, I know him, I have come to know him, but does not habitually keep, focused on his precepts and obey his commandments, his teachings, is a liar in the truth of the divine word. So is the divine word only red letter, or is it the fullness of the book? Or is it the scriptures, the scrolls? It's not in him. So if you don't keep the commandments of the Most High Yah, man, you don't know the Most High Yah at all, and the truth is not in you. It's real simple. That's what that red letter belief is going to get you. And people don't realize that they're walking in disobedience when people teach that foolishness. Yah's will, 1 John 5, verse 2 through 3. But this we know without any doubt, that we love the children of Yahweh, expressing that love when we love Yahweh and obey his commandments. For the true love of Yahweh is that we habitually keep his commandments and remain focused on his precepts, and his commandments and his precepts are not difficult to obey, which means grievous. I think the KJV says grievous. Man, if you're murmuring and complaining about doing the things that he told you to do, man, you don't love him with the fullness of your heart, your mind, body, and soul. There's something hindering you that needs to be addressed. And it could be your own will, could be family you're prioritizing over, could be your children, could be your career that you're prioritizing over the will of the Most High. He didn't give you anything burdensome to do, grievous to do. But the fact that your flesh is having a hard time doing it, that's what needs to be addressed. 2 John chapter 1, verse 5. Now I ask you, lady, not as if I were writing to you a new commandment, but simply reminding you of one which we have had from the beginning, that we love and unselfishly seek the best for one another. What else do you need? He's letting you know, I ain't giving you nothing new. I'm just simply reminding you of. And this is what the Messiah is doing through his time. He ain't giving you nothing new. Deceivable seeds. This is very important because this is how you can tell who is who. When somebody can fix their lips to tell you commandments in the book that's outlined, you shall do, you shall keep, you shall obey, and tell you that you don't have to do it, that's where the problem is. That's where the problem is. Ecclesiastes 10:19. They that fear Yahweh are a sure seed, and they that love him an honorable plant. They that regard not the law are a dishonorable seed. They that transgress the commandments are a deceivable seed. So with this red letter only concept or doctrine, you have a lot of people being deceived into thinking that if it's not red letter, they can disregard it. It's not valid, doesn't apply to their walk, doesn't apply to them following JC. And these people don't even understand how JC was walking and what his will was. That's why I made sure of showing you today what the will of Yahshua Hamashiach was. And then also, when he comes to judge, you ain't going to make it up out of here if you come to do something different than the will of the Father. You ain't going to inherit the kingdom. The word is clear on that. The word is clear on it. When it tells you who will not inherit the kingdom in the last days, fornicators, idolaters, and it's breaking that thing down, those are people that have violated commandments. So when you in the world and you keeping these worldly holidays, you're violating a commandment. You're violating one for you supporting idolatry, having idolatrous ways. Two, because he gives you feast days and set apart days that you're supposed to be keeping. You don't get to substitute a commandment. See, what religion does is it tries to substitute man-made traditions and commandments for what the will of the Most High Yah has told us. That's the main agenda behind a lot of these different teachings. You know, where we're going to incorporate this Easter bunny. We're going to incorporate Easter and the deity of Easter. We're going to incorporate all of that so we can actually get away from keeping the Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread for 7 days. It's the sleight of hand to try to slide something in that ain't going to get you to the kingdom and reject what it is you actually are supposed to be doing. Deceivable seeds. And this is why I give you the history, the breakdown, and understanding of this stuff so you don't fall short. So you got the fullness of the information. You see that constant theme of obeying the commandments, the laws, the statutes, the precepts, the judgments, all through the book. And I guided you through that today. Don't let anybody deceive you. Okay, let's keep going. Don't let anybody, the title is wrong on this one. I said Gentile origin. That's from I forgot to change that one. Do not let anybody deceive you with the concept of if JC didn't mention, say it, then we don't have to do it. There are many things that the Messiah did in obedience to Yahweh, but did not speak of in any of his encounters with people. We see Yahshua kept the 7-day Sabbath as well as the biblical feast days. Yahshua is our perfect example because he did no sin, which means he did not violate the Torah given to Moses by the inspiration of Yahuwah. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3. Let no one in any way deceive or entrap you, for that day will not come unless the apostasy comes first. That is the great rebellion, the abandonment of the faith professed by believers, and the man of lawlessness is revealed. Man, when some of these teachings and doctrines are works of lawlessness, teaching people to be in rebellion against the Most High Yah, teaching people to sin against the Most High Yah. Lawlessness is revealed, the son of destructions, the anti-Messiah, the one who is destined to be destroyed. Let no one deceive you. It talks about biblically, let no one deceive you with fair speech, smooth words, with philosophy. A lot of what you're getting in Christianity as well as world religion is philosophy. And this stuff is to deceive you. Let no one deceive you. And I want to be a reminder when you're thinking about this, even though that title doesn't fit, think about where they were during this time of Thessalonians. Man, it was in Gentile territory. So these people is being told, man, don't be deceived by these people. Don't be deceived. Man, I hope I said something today to help you out and just give you some context, some backstory, so you don't fall into the trap of, because coming out of Christianity, there's a lot of things that we have been taught that are inaccurate, easily dispelled. You know, with one slide, one verse, easily dispelled. But I go through the fullness of it, giving you the history to show that Messiah never said, I want you to write my word in red. You know, that's man-made stuff. So I give you the history. But I don't want anybody to be conflicted towards you using a red letter type belief, and red letter only is the only thing that matters, and you be repulsive towards doing what the Most High is actually telling you to do. Be a doer of the word, because you're going to miss out on the kingdom. You're not going to be able to work out your salvation, and you're going to constantly fall short because there's so much that you miss out on. You got to understand, man, look at the life of some of the prophets and some of the word that was delivered to them. Look at the life of Moses and how much was delivered unto him. Look at the life of Messiah and how short it was. Messiah didn't cover everything in word, but he did it in action. He did it in action. When you're in the Torah and it's talking about the sin of uncovering a woman nakedness, Messiah didn't violate that. You don't read anything about Messiah having bodily fluid secretions, making him unclean. He didn't violate that. So in actions, in righteousness, man, everything is in alignment. It's not that hard. Glory to the King. The King is coming. Turn for your sins. Shabbat Shalom, Israel. I hope you guys have a blessed rest of your Shabbat. Closer to Yah Ministries, kicking it gun barrel straight.